Leo stepped off the human shuttle and onto the stone platform of the Vrelian capital. The sun above was soft, but the eyes watching him were sharp. Tall guards in deep red armor lined the path. To the queen's palace, each one looked like they could crush steel. They stared at him like he didn't belong. Leo had been through wars, fought monsters, survived black zones. But this was different. He wasn't here to fight. He was here to keep peace. The galactic treaty between humans and Vrelians was still fresh. Both sides agreed to stop fighting after long years of silent tension, to show trust. Each sent one representative to the other's homeworld. Leo, a retired human soldier, had been chosen. He didn't ask why. He just said yes, like he always did. As he walked past the guards, a voice broke the silence. "This is the human." The voice was strong, cold, and filled with something sharp. Leo looked to the side and saw her. She stood taller than him by a few inches, with strong shoulders and black markings under her silver eyes. Her armor was not shiny like the others. It was worn and battle-scarred. She didn't wear a helmet. She didn't need one. The look on her face was more dangerous than any blade. "Commander Zelia," whispered the Vrelian envoy walking beside Leo. "She leads the royal guard, strongest warrior in the Empire." Zelia stepped forward. The crowd moved back. "You're not worthy to stand here," she said to Leo. "You're not a warrior. You're soft, weak." Leo didn't answer. He simply looked into her eyes, calm as a quiet lake. He had been insulted before, by better people, and worse. Xelia frowned, as if she expected him to shout back. When he didn't, she reached to her belt and pulled off the thick metal band. It was shaped like a ring, but large enough to fit over a wrist. She threw it at his feet. It clanged loudly on the stone. Gasps followed. Leo raised an eyebrow. "What's this?" The envoy spoke, clearly nervous. "A challenge of honor. She wants to duel you." Leo bent down, picked up the gauntlet, and turned it in his hands. He wasn't angry. He was just confused. "I came here to talk," he said softly. Zelia's voice cut through the air. "Then talk with your fists." Before Leo could say anything else, a horn sounded in the distance. The queen's voice echoed through speakers placed around the courtyard. "Let the duel be held at dusk," she declared. "For honor, for truth." Leo looked up. That was fast. The envoy sighed. Vrelians don't wait when pride is touched. The training grounds were surrounded by thousands. The sun dipped low, and the twin moons began to rise. Fires were lit, and drums pounded a steady beat. Leo stood in the center of the circle, facing Zelia. She wore the same armor. No fancy gear. No tricks. Just her and a long silver staff. Leo wore light armor over his uniform. He carried no weapon. He didn't ask for one. Xelia smirked. "No blade." "How do you plan to survive?" "Wasn't planning to kill anyone," he replied. The crowd laughed, thinking he was joking. But Zelia didn't laugh. She lunged forward, fast as lightning. Her staff swung wide, aiming for his side. Leo moved quickly, ducking under the strike and stepping back. He didn't try to hit her. He just watched, waited. Another strike came, this one aimed for his shoulder. He dodged again. Then another and another. Each time, she moved faster, more focused. But Leo stayed calm. His feet danced just out of reach. The crowd started to go quiet. He wasn't attacking, but he wasn't losing either. Finally, Zelia growled and aimed a heavy swing at his legs. Leo stepped in instead of back. With one hand, he caught her wrist. With the other, he grabbed the staff and twisted it. The weapon spun in the air and landed on the ground behind them. Now, Leo held her arm gently but firmly. They stood still for a breath. Then he let go. Xelia didn't move. "You're strong," Leo said softly, "but you fight like you've never faced someone who listens." She stepped back, breathing hard. Her silver eyes narrowed, but not in anger. She was thinking, feeling something she hadn't expected. Leo turned to the queen's balcony and gave a short bow. "Thank you for your welcome," he said. "I hope we can talk now." The queen, silent until now, stood slowly. She smiled. "You may stay, human. The court has seen your strength and your wisdom." Later that night, Zelia sat alone in the training yard. Her staff rested beside her. She stared at the spot where Leo had stood. "He didn't even try to hurt me," she whispered. For someone like her, raised to believe that power meant victory in battle, this was something new, and she wasn't sure if it made her angry or curious. Zelia had never lost a fight, not once. Not even during the training years when she was just a young warrior with shaky hands. She had trained harder, longer, and colder than anyone else. Even when she bled, she kept moving. Pain was part of the path. Weakness was not allowed. But Leo didn't beat her with strength. He didn't throw her to the ground. He didn't strike her down. He disarmed her with calm steps, a steady grip, and words that didn't carry pride or mockery. That confused her. Why didn't he brag? Why didn't he take the chance to show he was better? She stared at the training field again. The dust still held the marks of their steps. It felt like the fight had left something behind, something she couldn't name. Inside the palace, Leo sat across from Queen Al-Shira. The room was quiet, with guards watching silently. The queen, wearing soft gold robes and no crown, poured a warm drink into his cup herself. "You surprised her," she said gently. Leo took the cup with both hands. "Didn't mean to." The queen smiled slightly. "That's why it worked." Zelia has never been surprised in a duel before. Leo looked at the floor. "She's skilled." "I only dodged and countered." "No," the queen said. "You respected her, and that is something she's never been given without earning it through fear." Leo sat back and thought about that. Fear and respect aren't the same. The queen nodded. "Tell her that." She won't believe it from anyone else. Leo didn't know why, but those words felt heavier than they sounded. Later that day, Zelia trained alone. Her strikes were sharp, each motion faster than the last. The air around her moved with the force of her swings. Nearby, other warriors watched but stayed quiet. None dared interrupt her. Until Leo walked into the courtyard. He didn't speak. He just sat on a stone bench, arms crossed, and watched. Zelia saw him but didn't stop. She finished her routine with one final spin and slammed her staff into the ground. "You're not afraid to face me again?" she asked, walking toward him. Leo shrugged. "Not afraid. Just don't want to fight someone who's not angry anymore." Zelia raised an eyebrow. "What makes you think I'm not angry?" "You are confused," he said. "Not angry. Your strikes are clean. Not wild." She stood silently, staff in hand. "You fight strangely. Not like a soldier. Not like a warrior." "I fight to end fights," Leo said. "Not to enjoy them." Zelia sat on the bench beside him, leaving a wide space between them. "That's not our way." Leo looked at her. "Maybe it should be." She turned to him, searching his face for any sign of a joke. There was none. "Why didn't you strike when you had the chance?" she asked. "Because winning doesn't always mean hurting someone," he answered. Those words sat between them like a heavy stone. Zelia didn't reply. For the first time, she didn't know how. That evening, word spread through the palace. Commander Zelia was seen sitting beside the human without arguing, without shouting, without drawing a blade. Whispers began to rise. "Has she gone soft?" Some asked. "No, he's tricked her," others said. But Queen Al-Shira heard the rumors and said nothing. She simply smiled and gave orders for a new event, a celebration to honor both warriors. The next day, banners were hung across the capital. Drums echoed again. The arena was set not for a duel, but for a feast. Tables filled with Vrelian and human food lined the stone path. Soldiers stood in formal armor. Nobles wore robes decorated with medals and ancient cloth. At the center stood the queen, with Leo on her right and Zelia on her left. "Today," she said, "we honor not a fight, but what followed it." The crowd listened closely. "Commander." Zelia faced a human, and what she found was not weakness, but a different kind of strength, calm, steady, and unshaken. Zelia's eyes lowered for a second, and Leo, our guest, showed respect without fear and courage without pride. Cheers followed. But Leo noticed something else. Zelia's fingers were tight against her palm. Her jaw clenched. She was uncomfortable. When the ceremony ended, Leo stepped toward her. "You okay?" he asked. Xelia looked at him, unsure. I don't like being praised. It makes me feel like I've stopped improving. Leo smiled. Maybe that's why you're the strongest one here. Her eyes met his. You say strange things. Human, maybe, he said. But they seemed to work. After the feast, the queen met with Zelia in private. The air between them was quiet. What do you think of him? The queen asked. Xelia didn't answer right away. He's different. Do you respect him? Alshira asked. Xelia looked up. I do. Do you trust him? Zelia paused. I think I'm starting to. The queen stepped forward and placed a small emblem in Zelia's hand. It was shaped like a flame, with wings, a symbol of choice, often used in ancient bonding rites. Then it may be time, the queen said, not for battle, but for something stronger. Zelia stared at the emblem. Her heart beat faster. Are you serious? You challenged him with a duel, the queen said softly. Now, challenge him with something harder: honor, future, and maybe even love. Zelia held the emblem tightly, unsure if the fire in her chest was fear or something new. Commander Zelia stood outside the great hall, holding the flame-shaped emblem tightly in her hand. It was warm against her skin, not because of heat, but because of what it meant. The symbol was old, almost forgotten. It was used only when someone of high status wanted to really bond with someone they had chosen with both mind and heart. Zelia never thought she would be the one holding it, especially not for a human. She looked at the stars above the palace. The Vrelian sky had two moons and soft purple clouds that drifted like waves. It was a peaceful night, but peace didn't calm her. She had spent her whole life in war, in drills, in tests. This was harder. Inside the guest wing, Leo sat near a small fire, fixing a broken metal piece from his armor. He liked quiet things. They helped him think. Since the duel, he had noticed a change in Zelia. She wasn't just the fierce warrior anymore. She was watching him differently. Not with anger, but with something deeper, something harder to name. His door opened with a soft knock. You're still up? Zelia asked, stepping in. Can't sleep, Leo said. You? She walked in and sat across from him. She placed the emblem on the table between them. Leo stared at it for a moment, then looked at her. What's that? A symbol, she said. It means a request, a challenge of the heart. Leo raised his eyebrows. You're challenging me again. No, she said softly. I'm choosing you. He blinked, surprised. For what? Zelia's voice was calm but honest. To be mine. Not just as a warrior, but something more. Not because I lost a duel, but because you made me think. You changed how I see strength. Leo picked up the emblem. It was heavier than it looked. This is serious, right? He asked. Xelia nodded. More than any battle I've fought. Leo placed it back gently. Why me? Because you didn't try to beat me, she said. You tried to understand me, and no one's ever done that. Leo sat quiet for a while. The fire crackled between them. I didn't come here looking for anything like this, he said. But I've grown to respect you, and maybe, if we try, we can figure this out, together. Zelia gave a small, rare smile. Then we'll face this like warriors, side by side. The next morning, the court was full. Nobles, generals, scholars, and elders stood waiting for the queen. Rumors had already spread. Something important was coming. When the queen entered, the room went silent. Xelia and Leo stood behind her. Everyone watched. Today, the queen began. You will witness something our people have not seen in many cycles. The room grew tense. Commander Zelia has chosen a bondmate, a partner not only in duty but in trust, strength, and future. She has chosen the human. Shock filled the room. Some gasped, others whispered. A few looked angry. A noble stepped forward. Your Majesty, this is against tradition. We've never bonded with humans. The queen raised her hand. Tradition must grow, or it turns to stone. Commander Zelia made her choice through honor, and no law denies her that. Another voice spoke up. He's not Vrelian. How can he understand our ways? Leo stepped forward. I may not know all your customs, but I do know respect, loyalty, and how to stand by someone who believes in me. If that's not enough, then teach me. His words were quiet, but they carried strength. Xelia stood beside him. I chose him. If anyone wishes to challenge that, I will face them myself. No one stepped forward. After the court meeting, some still whispered in the halls. But the queen stood firm. She announced a bonding trial for both Zelia and Leo to prove their unity not just with swords, but with hearts and minds. The trial was known as the Path of Echoes. It was a sacred test. It didn't judge physical skill, but revealed one's truths. Inside the trial chamber, each person would face memories, fears, and the truths they hid from themselves. Before entering, Zelia stood beside Leo. Are you ready? She asked. Leo nodded. As long as you're with me. They stepped into the chamber. The door shut behind them. Inside, there was only silence and darkness. Then light. The room twisted. Zelia was alone. Her armor felt heavy. She looked around and saw herself as a child, training under harsh teachers. Their voices echoed. Be strong. Never cry. Never show weakness. She saw moments where she was alone, bleeding, ignored. She saw herself winning fights, but never smiling, always alone. Then she saw Leo calm, gentle, looking at her not with fear, but with trust. She reached for that vision, and suddenly the pain faded. Leo saw battlefields, broken friends, choices he regretted. He saw a small alien child he couldn't save during a mission. He heard the words, "You did your best," but they didn't help. Then he saw Zelia, not as a warrior, but someone who had learned to stand alone. Like him, he reached out. The chamber faded. They were back, standing side by side. Their hands had found each other's without realizing it. The queen waited outside with the elders. She looked at them and smiled. You passed. The great hall of Vril was quiet, not because no one was there, but because everyone was watching. Nobles, soldiers, and elders lined the walls. Even visitors from human colonies stood at the back, unsure of the customs, but honored to be present. It was a rare event, the bonding of two warriors. One Vrelian, one human. At the front of the hall stood Queen Alshira, dressed in royal white, holding a staff of glowing stone. Beside her stood Commander Zelia in ceremonial armor, polished but simple. Her shoulders were straight, eyes focused, yet deep inside. Her heart beat faster than any battle she'd ever fought. Leo stood opposite her, wearing a uniform stitched with both the human flag and the crest of Zelia's clan. He felt the weight of every stare in the room, but it didn't shake him. Not after what they had been through. Not after the Path of Echoes. Queen Alshira raised the staff. Today, we bond not bloodlines, but two souls who have chosen trust over fear and unity over pride. The crowd stood still. Commander Zelia, do you still choose this bond? Knowing it changes not only your life, but the path of the Empire? Zelia took a breath and stepped forward. I do. Leo of Earth, do you accept this bond, knowing it ties you to our people, our customs, and our future? Leo nodded. I do. The queen turned to them both. Then kneel. They knelt, facing each other. The queen placed her staff between them, letting its soft blue light shine over their joined hands. May your strength protect each other, and your hearts grow without end. The room echoed with silence. Then the queen tapped the ground once. Rise. You are now bonded. The cheers that followed were not all joyful. Many clapped out of respect. Others only followed tradition. But none could deny what had happened. Xelia and Leo were now partners not just by ritual, but by choice, and the court could no longer ignore the bond between them. After the ceremony, the queen hosted a feast. Long tables filled the gardens. Music played from both Vrelian flutes and human strings. Dishes from both worlds were passed around, though many still kept their distance from Leo. He didn't mind. He was used to standing on the edge of things. Xelia, however, noticed, they still don't trust you. She said quietly, sitting beside him. I don't blame them, Leo replied. I wouldn't trust me either. She looked at him, serious. But I do, and that matters more than their fear. He smiled. You always speak like a soldier. It's all I've ever been, she said softly. Maybe now, Leo said. You'll learn to speak like something else. Zelia tilted her head. Like what? Like someone who knows they're not alone. She didn't answer. But her silence felt warmer this time. Days passed. The Empire adjusted slowly. Some Vrelians grew curious. They began to watch Leo's actions, not his title. They saw him help injured guards, share ideas with young warriors, and speak kindly even. To those who doubted him, others still whispered. Some nobles began sending quiet protests to the queen. They said the bond would weaken Vrelian pride. They said allowing a human into royal bloodlines was dangerous. The queen listened, but gave no reply. She simply waited. Then, a message came from the edge of the empire. A border colony was under threat. War clans from a far moon had ignored the treaty and were preparing for an attack. The colony requested help, but the queen had no fleet close enough to reach in time. Zelia stepped forward. Send me. Leo stood beside her. And me. A silence fell across the chamber. A council member stood. You want to face a war clan with one human ship and a half squad of guards? Zelia nodded. Yes, we will go. Not to destroy, but to stand. The queen looked at both of them. Do you believe you can stop a battle? Leo said. We believe we can stop it before it begins. The next day, their small ship lifted into the sky. Zelia stood at the controls while Leo checked the comms. 5 royal guards stood ready, all handpicked by Zelia. None questioned Leo's place. Not anymore. Do you think it'll work? One of the guards asked. Zelia glanced at Leo, then answered. He doesn't fight like us, but he doesn't give up like us either. Leo smiled. Thanks, I think. They arrived at the border colony 3 days later. Smoke rose in the distance. The war clan ships had landed, but had not attacked yet. Tension filled the air. Zelia and Leo didn't wait. They walked straight into the main square where both sides were watching. Villagers stood with fear in their eyes. The war clan looked ready to charge. But when they saw Zelia, they paused. Commander. One of the enemy leaders called out, stepping forward. We heard strange rumors that you bonded with a human. We didn't believe them. Zelia said nothing. Instead, she took Leo's hand and raised it. Believe it now. Gasps echoed through the square. Leo stepped forward. We came to speak, not to fight, but we will stand here until this colony is safe, no matter what it takes. The war clan stared at them. And waited. The square was tense. Villagers hid behind buildings, whispering prayers for peace. The war clan warriors stood in lines, weapons ready, faces hardened by years of battle. Their leader, a tall alien with scars like a cracked river, stared at Zelia and Leo. Zelia felt the weight of every eye on her. This was not a battlefield. It was a test of wills. Why should we believe you? The war leader growled. You sent only a few soldiers. No fleet, no overwhelming force. Leo stepped forward. His voice was calm, steady, because we do not want war. But we are willing to fight to protect those who cannot defend themselves. The leader's eyes flicked to the villagers. Some children peeked from doorways, eyes wide with hope and fear. You say this. Human, the leader said slowly, but how do we know you can keep your word? Zelia raised her voice. Because I am commander of the royal guard, I stand by my words. And because I have chosen Leo not as a human outsider but as my bondmate, my partner. The word bondmate echoed through the crowd. One warrior whispered, He's no ordinary human. Leo nodded. I am here not to conquer, but to build trust, to show that we can be stronger together. The leader looked hard at Leo, then at Zelia. The silence stretched. Finally, he lowered his weapon. Very well, he said. We will talk, but any sign of betrayal will bring fire upon us all. Zelia and Leo nodded in agreement. The talks began under a large tent. Smoke from fires drifted. In the cool air, Leo and Zelia sat across from the clan leaders. Guards stood quietly at the edges. Leo began. Our people have fought for many cycles, but this conflict doesn't have to be one more chapter. If we work together, we can protect this colony and others. The leader leaned forward. Why trust humans? Your history shows conquest and war. Leo answered honestly. Some humans have done wrong, but many of us believe in peace and respect, and in fighting only when necessary. Zelia added, our bond is proof. If a Vrelian and a human can stand united, others can too. The leaders exchanged looks. One elder spoke. Trust is earned, not given. What will you do if we say no to your offer? Zelia looked Leo. We will defend the colony with everything we have. But we prefer not to. Leo said, let us work together first, fight only if all else fails, over the next 2 days. Small teams from both sides worked side by side. Vrelian guards and War Clan warriors repaired defenses. Humans brought medicine and supplies. Zelia and Leo moved between groups, encouraging, listening, and learning. Slowly. Fear turned to respect. A young warrior from the clan approached Leo one evening. You fight with honor, and you listen. This is new to us. Leo smiled. Thank you. And you fight like you protect something precious. The warrior nodded. I fight for my people. And now, maybe, for peace too. Zelia watched from a distance. She saw Leo not just as a soldier, but as a bridge between worlds. Something she had not thought possible. On the 3rd day, the War Clan leader called a meeting. We have seen your words match your actions, he said. We accept your offer of peace. This colony will be protected by both our peoples. Cheers rose quietly from villagers and soldiers alike. Zelia and Leo exchanged a look filled with relief and pride. But the leader added, know this, our alliance is fragile. Trust will take time. Leo nodded. We will prove ourselves every day. Zelia stood tall. And we will face any challenge together. When they returned to the capital, word of their success spread quickly. The court held a ceremony to honor their efforts. The queen praised both for courage and wisdom. Many nobles who once doubted Leo's place in the empire began to see him as more than a human outsider. He was now a symbol of what could be achieved through unity and respect. Zelia's bond with Leo became a story told across worlds, a reminder that strength was not just in weapons, but in the willingness to change. Late one evening, Zelia and Leo stood on the palace balcony, looking out at the stars. Did you ever imagine this? Leo asked. That a duel would lead to this? Zelia smiled softly. No, but I'm glad. It did. Leo took her hand. We're stronger together. She squeezed his hand back. And not just in battle. They stood silently, knowing their journey was only beginning. But for the first time, they faced the future united, ready for whatever came next. The palace was alive with light and sound. Banners flew in soft winds, and music from both Vrelian flutes and human strings filled the great hall. Today was not just a celebration, it was a new beginning. Commander Zelia stood beside Leo. The bond between them had grown stronger since the border colony. They were no longer just warriors fighting side by side. They were partners, friends, and something deeper, something that even words could not fully explain. The queen rose from her throne, her eyes shining. Today, we honor not just a bond between two warriors, but a union that bridges worlds. She gestured to Zelia and Leo. You have shown courage, respect, and strength beyond the battlefield. Your bond is a symbol for all Vrelians and humans alike. The crowd cheered, many faces smiling. Some still whispered, but most accepted the change. Xelia stepped forward. I never thought I would find a partner outside my own kind, but Leo proved that strength is found not only in blood, but in heart and trust. Leo smiled. And I never expected to find a home among the stars. But with Zelia, I have found one. Their hands found each other's, fingers lacing tightly. As the celebration continued, messages arrived from across the empire and human colonies. Leaders sent words of support and curiosity. Talks began of stronger alliances, joint missions, and shared knowledge. Leo and Zelia's bond had become more than personal. It was a beacon of hope. But change did not come without challenges. One night, as the palace slept, a secret meeting took place in the shadows. Nobles who feared losing. Power whispered warnings. If we allow this union to grow, we lose control. One said. Another nodded. The old ways must be kept, or the empire will fall. They planned to challenge the bond, to force the queen to undo what had been done. Days later, during a council meeting, voices rose. Accusations flew. Some said the bond was a betrayal. Others argued it was progress. The queen stood firm. This bond is lawful and chosen. It will not be undone. Zelia and Leo faced the council together. We fight for the Empire's future. Zelia said, one where all can stand equal. Leo added, strength is not in division, but unity. Some council members nodded. Others glared. The debate was fierce, but the queen's voice held power. Let the people decide, she said. Let the Empire see what we can build together, to show their unity. Leo and Zelia agreed to lead a new mission to explore distant star systems together. They gathered a crew made of humans and Varelians working side by side. The journey was long and filled with tests, dangers in space, strange planets, and unknown threats. But together, they faced every challenge. One day, their ship entered a dark system. Sensors detected a vessel sending distress signals. Zelia and Leo led a rescue. They found a stranded human ship caught in a meteor storm. Working quickly, they saved the crew. During the rescue, Zelia saw the strength of humans in danger, and Leo saw the bravery of Varelians in battle. It was a moment that sealed their bond deeper than ever. When they returned to the Empire, their story inspired many. Young warriors from both species sought to learn from them. Mixed crews formed, and the Empire began to change. Zelia and Leo stood at the forefront of this new era. They knew challenges would come, but they faced them together. One quiet evening, Leo looked at Zelia. Do you ever think about how it all began? Zelia laughed softly. A duel. You thought I wasn't worthy. Leo smiled. Now I'm your fiancé. She squeezed his hand. And you're the strongest partner I've ever had. They looked up at the stars, ready for whatever future awaited. Because together, they were unstoppable.